I'm Deja Lynn Alvarez. I am a former sex worker, an addict, and now a very proud trans woman and the director of the first and only LGBTQ specific shelter and recovery facility in this state. It took me a very long time to get to the point to where I could proudly say all of that to myself, let alone in a room full of people. I've been in the community of Philadelphia for 25 plus years, and the racism in that neighborhood and the discrimination in that neighborhood has been going on since the first day I touched down in Philadelphia at about 15 years old. I experienced it in different ways. Although I am of mixed heritage, Mexican, Serbian, German, and Irish, and I am proud of every single one of those heritages, I experienced it as a trans woman. I experienced it as a trans woman that was hanging out in the neighborhood downtown. I experienced it in the bars, but even worse, I experienced it from the police. I was beat up, jailed, harassed, called names, chased, locked up for absolutely no reason for years, and I was afraid to fight back. In 1995, going into 1996, I finally fought back, and I stood up, and I sued the city of Philadelphia, and I won. One of my biggest perpetrators is in this room now, still carrying a badge and gun. But I'm no longer afraid. I am no longer afraid, because in this city now, there are some laws that protect trans women. For the first time in history, trans women have been put to the forefront, particularly trans women of color. We've been granted rights, equality, and protections. For the very first time, we no longer walk behind the rest of the LGBT community. We now stand alongside of them. It's been a long, hard journey for a lot of us, a whole lot of us, and there's still a lot going on. 25 plus years later, and we're up here talking about this still. I still get complaints from members of the trans community of the disrespect and the harassment from some police officers. Again, the difference is now we have an avenue we can take, and we need to start taking advantage of some of these avenues, like the Philadelphia Commission on Human Relations. We need to start stepping up. We have to start filing our complaints and letting them know we're not going to take this no more. Because as long as we continue to be silent and not tell our individual stories, we're playing into these systems that are set up to keep us down. And as long as we do that, then we start fighting with each other. And as long as we're fighting with each other, we're expending all of our energy, all of it, fighting each other, instead of fighting those that want to keep us where we've always been. We can't do that anymore. We can't. We now need to start fighting back. We've got some momentum here. Let's all take full advantage of that. Let's take full advantage of this hearing as being the first step to finally changing all the shit that needs to be changed, not just in the neighborhood, but in the city of Philadelphia and the surrounding counties. Because guess what? In the state of Pennsylvania, outside of these Philadelphia walls, we still aren't safe. We still don't have policies and protections in place. When I get phone calls from trans women from Delaware County, there's nothing we can do because there's no law there to protect them. So let's stop fighting each other, get going on this fight, come together, take advantage of people like Rue Landau and Nellie and Mayor Jim Kenney, who have been progressive when it comes to LGBT rights. I'm not saying they're getting everything right, clearly, but I know for me as a trans woman, I know for the first time that when I see a police officer, when I have to call them, when they're coming into that shelter that I am now the director of, I'm not afraid when they come in. And when they come in with an attitude, I straighten their ass out. And when they don't straighten it out, I let them know, I'll call the mayor, I'll call your deputy commissioner, I'll call your commissioner. Hell, I'll call your lieutenant because I do the roll calls now.
Ms. Alvarez, your 3 minutes has passed. If you could just take another moment to wrap up, thank you.
Sure. So, again, I just stress, we've got to come together. We can disagree on shit all day long. It's okay for us to disagree, but at the end of the day, all of our missions should still be the same. All of our missions are the same. It is to end discrimination in every form, whether it's racial, whether it's sexual orientation, gender identity, disability, whatever the discrimination is, we've got to band together. And until we do that, we're not going to be able to end this.